Butler took the Rolls-Royce without asking. What the security cameras revealed left the owner speechless. Alistair Finch took great care in two aspects of his life: his perfect taste, which was illustrated by his Midnight Sapphire 2023 Rolls-Royce Phantom, and the quiet efficiency of his home, which was anchored by his stoic butler, Mr. Henderson. The shoes that Henderson wore were polished, his back was as straight as a ruler, and prudence was woven into his very nature. He was a relic. This is the reason why Finch's life was turned upside down when his phone buzzed with a security alert at 3:47 in the morning, showing his Phantom softly gliding down the moonlight driveway while being driven by the unmistakable shape of Henderson. Let us know where you are watching from and what time you found this video. Henderson, have you taken the Phantom? Do you not have a word? The angry rage that Finch felt was icy and piercing. Pure and basic betrayal of trust. His fingers were shaking when he accessed the live stream and archives in his security suite, which he stormed to in a violent manner. It was verified by the external camera. Henderson, who was not dressed in his typical uniform but rather in a charcoal suit that was shockingly well-tailored, was directing the Phantom with an unsettling serenity along the empty boulevard. Finch was prepared for the worst possible scenario, which might have been a joyride, a secret rendezvous, or even a big robbery. First, he played back the video from the garage. Through the use of Finch's own bypass code, Henderson was able to enter the building through the main entrance rather than the staff door, as seen through the infrared lenses. How did he know this? Instead of moving stealthily, the butler moved with purpose. Instead of using a hot wire, he utilized a key, which Finch had stored in a biometric safe. He did not use a hot wire. The impossible. The fury that Finch was feeling started to turn into a sickening discomfort. After then, the video from the outside was shown. Instead of heading in the direction of the dazzling sin of the city, Henderson drove in the direction of the fog-shrouded moors and the decaying, forgotten settlement of Blackwood Heath toward the east. His heart was pounding against his ribs as Finch hurriedly watched the scene unfold. Near the abandoned rail station, which is a location that is solely renowned for its nettles and wreckage, the Phantom came to a halt. Not a sack of stolen coins, but rather a huge leather medical bag that Finch had never seen before. Henderson stepped from the room holding the bag. The revelation occurred when Finch turned to the high-resolution camera feed that was centered on the entrance to the station. He zoomed closer, which made the blurry picture seem even better. Henderson was confronted by a figure, a lady dressed in a nurse's outfit in the Edwardian style that was worn but immaculate, and her face was engraved with the expression of frantic relief. In the absence of sound, they communicated with each other in a hurried manner. Following that, Henderson opened the back door of the Phantom with great care. Finch was able to see him. It is a kid, possibly 8 years old. He was wrapped in heavy blankets that were from the past, and his face seemed pale and drawn even when seen through the monochromatic night vision. As he was being carefully carried towards the Rolls-Royce by the nurse, it was evident that his legs were encased in heavy, old-fashioned calipers. These were leg braces that Finch had only ever seen in history books. The youngster seemed to be in a terrifyingly fragile state. Finch rushed, calling up license plate identification from the town's lone traffic camera, which had been triggered before the Phantom drove by. This was the beginning of the descent into history. The system spat forth a mistake, and then after taking a more in-depth look at the archives, it produced a result that made Finch's blood freeze. Royal Warrant Holder, also known as PNT-4. Historic Archive is the current status. 1952 was the year of the last registration. To the Right Honorable Prince Edward, Duke of Kent. Is it 1952? The Prince of Wales? His thoughts were racing. After the war, he recalled his grandpa, Sir Thaddeus Finch, who was a reclusive businessman with reputed links to royalty. He had purchased a Rolls-Royce that was a special project in a strange manner. a vehicle that is seldom seen and cloaked in mystery. It is the Phantom 4. The only ones ever produced were 18, and they were reserved only for leaders of state and royalty. Finch was under the impression that his contemporary Phantom was the best. He had a mistake. Not only had his grandpa purchased a rare automobile, but he had also been tasked with the responsibility of protecting one of the rarest automobiles on the planet by concealing it as a later model. The footage continued, alluding to the unspoken agreement. Henderson took great care to position the little child in the luxurious back seat of the Rolls that he was driving. On Henderson's behalf, the nurse handed over the medical bag. A bow from the nurse and a deep, respectful nod from Henderson were two examples of the tremendous seriousness that occurred at that time. These gestures went beyond simple courtesy. It seemed to be like obeisance. After that, Henderson drove away, and the Phantom vanished into the mist well before dawn. It was not in the direction of Finch's mansion. Rather, it was farther into the moors, in the direction of the private airport that Finch only seldom used. This was clear to Finch. The automobile was not being stolen by Henderson. It was a responsibility that had been around longer than Finch's own existence. There was a connection between the infant, who required immediate medical assistance, but could only get it from a great distance away, and the original royal owner of the Phantom 4. The apparently perpetual Butler, Henderson, was not just a member of the crew. Rather, he was the most recent in a long series of guardians who were bound by a sacred commitment to safeguard the vehicle and its history, which included the descendants of individuals who had been serviced by the car in the past. The braces, the medical bag, and the nurse's attire all pointed to a problem that traditional medical practitioners were unable to treat, but that contemporary experts may be able to treat. For such a covert and time-sensitive operation, Henderson had used the only vehicle that was both discreet and competent enough to accomplish the task at hand, the concealed Phantom 4, which had been disguised for decades as Finch's contemporary luxury sedan. The return. As dawn was painting the sky, Finch heard the familiar hum of the Rolls-Royce returning. The murmur was almost quiet. It was not with rage that he stood on the porch. Rather, it was with wonder as he stood there. Henderson emerged from the darkness, seeming weary yet unruffled. The seat at the back was deserted. Finch started out by saying, "Mr. Henderson," in a husky voice. As he arrived, Henderson presented the vehicle keys along with a single, hefty, ancient key that was the key to the biometric safe they were using. "I am, sir. Both the car and its gasoline tank have been refilled. I want to express my deepest apologies for the misuse of the information and the breach of trust that occurred. It goes without saying that my resignation will take effect immediately." Despite the fact that his voice was firm, Finch saw a quiver in his fingers. It was as if the weight of a lifetime of secret had been lifted and crushed. None of the keys were taken by Finch. After Henderson, he turned his attention to the Phantom. In the bright morning light, he was able to see it now. The small variations in the grille, the slightly higher roofline, and the air of history that clung to the perfect paint of the vehicle. The automobile was more than simply a vehicle. It was a living secret and a conduit for vows that were older than he was. Resignation? At long last, Finch was successful, and his former anger was replaced with a deep sense of humility. "It is Mr. Henderson." Who was the young man? As Henderson met his gaze, a glimmer of astonishment appeared on his face, which was otherwise a mask of professionalism. "I honor you, Master Reginald, grandson of Lord Thornbury, who passed away some years ago and was the original recipient of this vehicle's commission. Due to his condition, he needed immediate medical attention that was not accessible in the area. It was imperative that the agreement which was made by your grandpa, sir, be kept completely confidential. The intention was for me to provide an explanation upon my return, regardless of the repercussions." During this time, Finch reflected on the nurse's frantic relief and the frail shape of the kid. It was then that he recalled the Phantom 4, a royal secret that had been stored in his garage for many years. He recalled Henderson, who was obligated to fulfill a responsibility that had cost him his post and perhaps his freedom. Finch responded, "Explanations can wait, Henderson," in a voice that was unusually soft even for him. The keys were encircled by Henderson's hand as he closed it. "Go and lie down. I am grateful to you, as a result of your commitment, regarding my granddad, and to the past." He took a little halt, gazing longingly at the imposing and antiquated equipment. The Phantom the Fourth. She really is rather remarkable, don't you think? Henderson's eyes were touched by a shadow of something that may be described as thankfulness, or perhaps it was simply great relief. "You are correct, sir. It is not only people that she transports, she is sure to keep her word." His bow was not the bow of a servant, but rather the bow of a man who had just performed a sacred promise. It was a modest bow, but it was profound. And as Finch watched him make his way towards the apartments reserved for the staff, he was certain that the tale of the Phantom, the lost heir, and the butler who defied time was only getting started. The surveillance film had not only uncovered a theft, but it had also disclosed a legacy, demonstrating that in order to demonstrate genuine dedication, it is sometimes necessary to drive a precious antique into the night in order to provide a response to a call from the past.